Hey guys, Kelade here. So Blizzcon 2019 has just ended and we have a new expansion announced, World of Warcraft Shadowlands, and let's quickly go over everything that was announced and kind of my thoughts on the expansion so far. Basically, Sylvanas defeats Bolvar and breaks his helmet to unleash havoc on everyone. Shadowlands is the afterlife of the entire WoW universe, and we'll probably see a lot of our favorite characters make a return and lots of DK related stuff in this expansion, which is also why DKs will now be able to be every race in the game starting with patch 8.3. You can be every allied race and even Pandaria as DKs now. There's of course going to be the new typical zones, dungeons, and raids from each expansion, but there is going to be a huge change that a level squish will happen, and that all of our max level characters will now be changed to level 50 at the beginning of the expansion, and once again level 60 will be the max level cap. There's also going to be revamping in the WoW leveling system where you're now going to go through this introductory level 1 through 10, and then from levels 20 through 50 you can pick any of the expansions to level in. Though if you want to level fast, you probably want to pick one of the earlier expansions where the zone doesn't assume you have mounts and the quests are packed more closely together. Then the last 10 levels will just be the new zones of the expansion. Another great change to the leveling system is that progress on your main will now unlock a new game plus mode, so that way you don't have to do all of the same story events over and over again on new alts as you try to unlock more covenants on those. And the focus expansion, at least early on, seems to be these covenants that I just talked about. There's going to be 4 covenants that are going to be introduced, and you will have to pick between 1 to 4 covenant, and each covenant will give every player 2 new abilities. One ability is a general ability that usually has to do with some type of movement and speed increase, and it shouldn't impact or damage too much. But the second ability is a class specific ability that will usually do some sort of damage or provide a good amount of CC or gap closer. This will likely feel like the rep grind that we do generally at the beginning of this expansion, or when new zones come out like Najtar and Mechagon, but much more alt friendly this time around, because once you fully unlock it on your main, your alts will be able to unlock a covenant basically immediately. Torghast Tower of the Dam is going to be WoW's take on the unlimited dungeons that many other games already have, and you can play this by yourself or up to 5 players. It's basically Diablo Greater Rifts in WoW. You'll also get occasional power upgrades as you progress through the tower, similar to how the dungeon runs work in Hearthstone, or basically any mobile game that has a feature like this. Within the runs, there will be a mechanic called Anima that are power upgrades, and you basically just pick one out of however many options. They showed 3 in the initial announcement, but it doesn't seem like there's always 3, as you kind of saw in the deep dive, but that can obviously always change. I think if Blizzard implements this feature well, it can be a very popular feature, though balancing this for the single player experience might be kind of hard because we have such defined roles in WoW, and if there are leaderboards just for the specific characters by yourself, it might have to be more spec specific ones. Mythic Plus and seasonal affixes are confirmed for this expansion. Hopefully Blizzard will learn from the issues of BFA and make seasonal affixes that aren't super annoying to play with. Taking a look at what Torghast, the tower, will provide, Mythic Plus will really have to dish out better rewards, since it will most likely feel more fun to do the tower instead, since you're gaining power and fun perks as you progress, whereas Mythic Plus is now kind of a drag and annoying to play with, right? So maybe even in Mythic Plus seasonal affixes, they don't always have to be negative affixes, right? There can always be either kind of like the corruption system right now that we're going to get, where it doesn't have to just purely be bad, right? There can be beneficial effects of the Mythic Plus system. I know they're kind of trying to do that with the whole, oh, you can take the portal with season 4 and then, skip packs. Maybe that's the direction that they go with, right? Don't necessarily have to have the seasonal affixes be super annoying, because I think that's the problem right now, is that Mythic Pluses and BFA are just not fun to do. Weekly Mythic Plus loot chests will now give you 5 or 6 items that you can pick out of them. This is great because it reduces the amount of RNG that comes from these weekly chests. And Ian also did allude that even if the 5 or 6 items that you get from your chest aren't good, there's going to be a backup system. So maybe there's a way, if you don't like them, you can get more Titan Residuum or whatever the new resource will be called. We'll have to see if this applies to PvP too, because PvP gearing has been very lackluster in BFA when compared to PvE. I think a lot of people just agree, even if PvP doesn't get their own thing, let's just copy what PvE has and, make it more reliable to get gear upgrades. But so far, I don't know if Blizzard cares about PvP at all anymore, but it's been not that great if you want to get gear through PvP. Shadowlands will see some legendaries return, though that seems to be less random than Legion and allows you to work towards specific legendaries. Let's just hope that there isn't some hidden cap on drop rates that we aren't aware of this time around, because last time right? Only being able to get a few legendaries and basically not being able to get the next one no matter how much you play the game, that definitely was not a good idea on Blizzard's end. So let's hope that's changed this time around. Next, Blizzard is going to be improving the classes, and we're going to be getting back some abilities that were either removed from our class or abilities that were made spec specific might become class specific again. So far for warriors, they have confirmed Shouting Throw, Challenging Shout, and Shield Block, and we are all hoping that we can get Shockwave back too. With Shield Block confirmed, it is also possible that they'll bring back warrior stances, because you are going to need a shield if you want to use Shield Block. We're also not going to have artifact power anymore in the new expansion, which is great because it usually reduces another level of grinding, and it has always felt weird to go back and redo world quests every time a new patch came out. We basically have to do beginning of the expansion content every time a new patch comes out. Not only that, but one of the best ways to acquire artifact power in BFA is through islands and such, but for islands, really that's the only reward. So right now, if you're actually farming for AP, you basically have to do another source of content that doesn't give you much value anywhere else, right? At least in Legion, Mythic Plus sometimes was a good way of farming AP. And for that, you can kind of kill two birds with one stone, right? You can basically farm Mythic Plus like crazy, which allows you to get gear and AP, but in BFA, that's not really the case. There's also going to be a lot more character customizations and character creations, and a lot of skin colors and tattoos are being added. Now, not only can you play the Chinese undead without bones sticking out, but you can also play as Asians too. Overall, I think this expansion definitely looks promising, and we should have just skipped BFA and gone straight from Legion to Shadowlands. With that being said, I'm pretty excited for what this expansion can bring and hope it does come out soon. I'm sure a lot of the stuff that Blizzard has gone over in Blizzcon might change, so definitely expect, obviously more class abilities to get improved as they kind of announce all of them, more information about the tower to come out. I'm sure there will be a lot of balancing stuff that happens there. For example, usually for stuff like this, the initial powers will be super OP, kind of like the essences, and maybe by the time the tower and the game actually comes out, they'll be like heavily nerfed. But we'll see. As always, thanks for checking out the video, guys. Feel free to subscribe to see more. See ya.